I'll be teaching you how to sew this BuBu kaftan with V neckline, two side pockets, two side slits, and has a velvet strip on the down part and on the sleeve part as well. This is very big. It's a big BuBu kaftan. I'll be sharing with you the tips and tricks to sewing this BuBu kaftan, and it looks very gorgeous and beautiful. Here you can see what I got right here. I actually use an ordinary bias because I don't have a velvet bias, but I will advise you to get a velvet bias. And you can see the two side slits, the two side pockets. Here you can see my side pockets. It has V neckline. We'll jump into this tutorial right away. I have a lot of tips and tricks to share with you in this class, okay? Especially the position of the velvet bias to make it come out the way it is right here. My fabric is Ankara and I'm using 3 yards of Ankara fabric. So I'm going to open up these 3 yards of Ankara right now. And we are going to put it together. So when you put it together on fold like this, you'll be having 1.5 yards, and that 1.5 yards is going to give you 54 inches length. After folding it the first time, I'm going to fold it the second time from this other edge, making it 4 folds. Then we are going to put it to the folded part as the center front, center back. I'm going to make 1 inch border line, as you can see here, 1 inch border line, and I'm going to rule a line for my border line. After that, we are going to start taking our measurements. I'm going to impute 3.5 inches, that is the neck width, and the neck depth for the back is 1 inch, 3.5 by 1 inch. The neck depth for the front, I used 7.5 inches. You can do 7 inches, but I used 7.5 inches. So I'm going to rule my line across like this. Then we are going to take the shoulder divide by 2. Your shoulder divide by 2. The sleeve length is 12 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches on the sleeve length. We are going to connect it to the neck width. Next, we are going to mark a straight line for the sleeve. Then we are going to add 1.5 inches. You add 1.5 inches, that is to hem the sleeve. I'm going to extend the line. On that sleeve line, we are going to mark 12 inches for the sleeve opening. But I marked 11 inches and marked another 1 more inch. That is for seam allowance, making it 12 inches. Then you go in at that point. On that point, I'm going to take the measurement of my hip. I'm using the biggest part of my body, which is the hip, divide by 4. Then you add 6 inches to it. Like I said, it's a very big dress. Hip divide by 4, add 6 inches to it. For me, the total there is 18. I'll pick that 18 inches to the hem and mark 18 inches. Then I'm going to rule a straight line from that hem to touch that bust line or the sleeve line. I'm going to also connect our usual kimono curve. Just curve it in the way we curve our BuBu kaftan. This BuBu kaftan has a pocket, so we are going to take the measurement of the waistline. So I marked my waistline as 17 inches and traced it to the side. Then I'll come down by 2 inches from that waist, then open my sleeve at 7. So I'm going to mark out my pocket. Although the pocket space there is not enough, but we are going to later join our pocket at that point. So if you're in a smaller size, you might have your full pocket, okay? But if you're on a bigger size, you have to join your pocket. So now we are going to take the measurement of the full length. So the full length of this dress, I used 50 inches, although I got 54 inches, but I have to trim off the rest of the 4 inches. I will use it for the facing of this dress. So the actual length is 50 inches from that measurement. So I will cut and add half an inch for the seam allowance on the neckline, then cut into the back neckline alone. I'm going to cut this side. I'm cutting the sleeve side, then I'll take it all the way to the side. I'll cut into the pockets. From that point, I'm going to come down all the way down. I'm done cutting right now. Next, I'm going to get few pieces of this fabric just to join the pocket. Since my pocket was short, so I'm going to just fold it and join. So I'm going to put it below, and then we are going to trace out the pocket completely. Here you can see me tracing out the full shape of that pocket. And after getting the full shape, I'm going to cut it out. And I'm going to join it right now. So I'm going to separate the inner part of this BuBu kaftan. That is the back piece. I'm separating it so we'll be able to cut the front neckline. I'll go ahead to cut the front neckline as you can see here. So that is it. The next we are going to do is to cut the facing. I'm going to get some pieces of that fabric I cut out earlier. I'll join them together to create a facing. This is my facing right now. I placed it on fold. I'm going to drop the main fabric on top of it, making sure the center front folded part is on it like that. Then I'll secure with my pin, as you can see. Then we are going to trace out the facing. Of course, you know how to go about your facing. So you go ahead, trace it out. My facing is ready for the front. I'm going to place it right side to the main neckline. The front fabric, secure with my pin. So make sure you get that V neckline, pin it very well. Then pin the edges like this. Then you can proceed to pin the rest of it. And we'll move over to the machine to stitch at half an inch. Before stitching the front neckline, I want to cut the back facing too. So I'll go ahead and place on fold like this, the back facing, then place the back neckline. I'll trace it out the way I traced the front one too. Just go ahead and cut it out this way, and then cut it out that way. You can leave it the way it is, or you can just place a little curve. So for my back facing, I usually like to place a little curve like this. Next, I'm going to place it open, right side to right side like this, secure with my pin, and I'm going to stitch half an inch. I'll also stitch the front neckline together too. Here I'm done stitching the both of them. We are going to make notches on this neckline to make it relax very well. So here is the front neckline right now. I am going to place notch on the center front first, then place notches on the sides like that. I'll flip all my seams to the facing and top stitch and give it a good press. The back piece, I'll also notch the neckline. I'll go ahead and notch the neckline. So always notch your neckline. This is very important. I'll also flip all my seams to the facing and top stitch. After top stitching, I gave it a good press. So this is the back neckline is ready. So we want to start creating that strip. Like I said, you need to use velvet if you want to replicate exactly what we have on the thumbnail. So from the neckline, you are going to measure downwards 34 inches. That is the length of that bias, velvet bias. 34 inches is the first length. Then the next length is 37, 34 and 37. I'm going to highlight these lines on the other side too. From this other neckline, you measure 34 and 35. 34 and 37. 34 inches is the first one, 37 is the second one. Then I'm going to use my ruler to highlight them, make a straight line with my chalk. So this straight line is going to serve as a guide for you. Once you get to the machine, you just place your bias on top of it and stitch. So the next thing we want to do now is to create the seam allowance. The seam allowance I'm using there is 1 inch. So I'll just measure 1 inch on that line inwards, measure on this other line. So that is where I'm going to stop my velvet bias sewing. I'll also do the same, measure 1 inch, measure 1 inch. So our velvet stitching will stop at that 1 inch because we also have a slit by the side. Now we have some dangling strips. I'm going to take the measurement of that dangling strip at 25 inches. The length of the dangling strip is at 25 inches, but if you want to make it shorter or longer, it all depends on you, but the standard there is 25 inches. I'll just place the 25 inches length on that 1 inch length I marked and secure with my pin the way you see me do right now. I'll go over to the machine. I'm going to top stitch. I'm going to top stitch like that until I get to the other end. Then getting to the other end, I'll also measure 25 inches to dangle on the other side, and I'll do the same for the rest of the strips. Here on the machine, I'm going to stitch. I'm starting from the 1 inch. Please don't stitch from the beginning, so you have 1 inch size seam for your slit folding or your seam allowance. I'm going to stitch all the way down on one end. After stitching to the other end from here, I am going to top stitch the other end of the bias. Of course, you know how to sew bias. So if you are using a velvet bias, it won't have a fold like this, so it usually come plain. So I think that one is better than what we are using, or unless you want to use what I used. So here I have stopped and I'm taking another 25 inches length. So here I will cut it out. So these are the parts that will dangle. So you have to cut it out like this. Then continue stitching again. So I'll turn my presser foot this way and I'll continue top stitching on that other end. So I'm going to top stitch it to the end of it now. I have finally gotten to the end of it, and this is what I got right here. So I'll close up that space, and that is all. So I'm using this method for the rest of them. Here I am done. I used another color of bias just to give it a little beauty or whatever, but just make your choice on your color. It's all your choice. Now you can see the spaces of 1 inch I told you that will be for the slits. Okay, it's going to be for the slits and the seam allowance. The back and front piece is ready. So we want to sew the neckline right now. Here is my V neckline, and I'm going to bring the back piece, which I've already sewn the strip to. This is how I usually like to fold my neckline. So you hold it on this way, match them together, and use one of the facings to wrap it up. You wrap it up like this, then stitch half an inch from that end all the way down. After stitching, I gave it a good press. So make sure you open up these seams because we want to stitch the sleeve line now. So I just ironed it open a little bit so we'll be able to stitch the sleeve line. So I'll just go ahead and fold in half an inch and then fold in 1 inch. That is the 1.5 inches we added. I will stitch on it. Here you can see we are done. And I also hem the down part of it. So just go ahead and hem the down part and the sleeve part together. So the next thing we want to do is to sew that velvet bias that is on the sleeve area. Now I am going to cut out my bias right now. My bias measures 30 inches in length. So the both of them will be 30 inches. Then you place the both of them on fold and cut it. But if it's the same color, no need to cut. It's because I'm using different colors. I want to make them two different colors, just like a design. So you place it on the sleeve like that, on the seam allowance. Then you are going to secure with your pin. Here I am pinning it, as you can see. Next, I'm going to pick up the other parts, then I'm going to stitch on it. Go over to the machine right now. I'm going to stitch 1 inch all the way down. After stitching, I have to make notches. I love to make notches on that curvy part to ease the dress. Just give it a try. Then also notch at the pockets up and down. It will make this dress very free for you and very easy to iron and wear. Now we are going to fold in the slit. So I stitched not all the way down, 1 inch below the first strip. Okay, so I'll go ahead and top stitch, but I thought of using hemming gum on this part because the stitching will come across the velvet and it will look nice. Before you use this hemming gum, please don't forget to weave that part. You need to weave or serge that part, or else just go ahead and top stitch. This is what we got right here. So we have gradually come to the end of it, and this is my slit, and it looks so wonderful and beautiful. This dress is actually gorgeous. I believe you learned a lot from this tutorial. Please kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell to receive more videos from this channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.